Hello, I am Kayla Eldridge. I am the educational audiologist for the district who will be taking care of your deaf or hard of hearing students this year. I am here today to talk with you about your student with hearing impairment that you are going to have in your classroom this year. There are two of us in the district to help your students with hearing impairment. If you have a student who has equipment issues or who you think has had a change in hearing, you can contact me. My cell phone number is 316-494-1656, or you can contact me by email. My contact information is also listed in the Back to School letter in the hearing log folder. If you have a student with a hearing loss who is struggling with something in your classroom, you can contact Molly Poor-Hussein, our teacher of the deaf, and she can help with any educational gaps the student may have. We work in multiple districts, but always have our phones. We may not always answer, but leave a message or a text and we will get back with you. Some students with hearing impairment may not have hearing aids. Hearing aids may not be appropriate for the hearing impairment. The child may not tolerate hearing aids or may refuse to wear the hearing aids. The child may need hearing assistive technology or cochlear implants instead. Hearing impairment is not like vision impairment. With vision impairment, you put on a pair of glasses and your vision returns to normal. When you put on hearing aids, hearing impairment does not return back to normal, even with the use of technology. Your student's hearing impairment can impact his or her communication, language, social experience, education, and tiredness. You can help by providing support as written in the 504 or the IEP. Communication is not about what is said or how it is said, but what is understood. If you ask your student with hearing impairment if they understood what you said, they will tell you yes. If you ask them to repeat what you said, you will get a more accurate response. It is not that the student is lying. They truly believe they heard you, but they do not know what they did not hear. Speech may be audible to a child with a hearing impairment, but the words may not be intelligible. For instance, walk, walked, walking, and walks might all sound the same. Words like vacation and invitation might be confused because they sound similar. They also may not want to call attention to themselves or let you know that they are struggling. Students with hearing impairment will typically have a language delay. This is because they miss language that is being caught in the background of our daily lives. For example, if a mom is in the kitchen talking to her husband about an upcoming trip to the zoo, and the child is in the living room playing, the normal hearing child will overhear the conversation about the trip to the zoo, but the hearing impaired child will not. The hearing impaired child will have no prior knowledge of the trip until they leave to go to the zoo. This can cause a language delay or a language gap. We all know that schools are noisy places, and it's hard to interact with others when hearing is an issue, especially in a noisy environment. And this can lead to isolation. Students with hearing impairment have the same intelligence as their peers. The gap comes from the acquisition of knowledge. If they cannot receive the input of the information, they cannot learn. For example, recognizing verb tenses, bounces versus bounced, or pluralization, books versus books, possession, yours or John's, and contractions, its, he's, what's, can be difficult tasks for students with hearing impairment. It has been proven that our students with hearing impairment use more energy than their peers. This means they are more tired by the end of the day. Keep this in mind when you are working with students with hearing impairment. Let's talk about the major listening environment for students with a hearing impairment. Classrooms are super loud places. Think about your classroom for a moment. Think about all of the sounds in your classroom. We all do our best to keep them quiet to facilitate learning, but for students with a hearing impairment, background noise can interfere with learning. There are things you can do to help your classroom be a better listening environment. You can start with closing the door. This can eliminate noise from the hallway. Also, keep in mind background noise during work and test time. Are students expected to stay quiet when they finish? Do you stay quiet while they work? Sometimes students with hearing loss may even need to move to another place in order to complete a test. You can also avoid standing in front of a window. Make sure information that's new is presented from the front of the room near the speaker system if you have one. Adhere to a classroom routine. Ask students to speak one at a time. Summarize key points made by students and use visuals. That includes writing on the board. Communication takes two people, a speaker and a listener. A person with a hearing impairment needs to have a good partner for successful communication. There are a few things you can do when you are speaking with a person with a hearing impairment to facilitate good communication. Be sure you face the student when speaking. This can be hard when working on a math problem on the board, but try not to turn your back. Do not cover your face when you're speaking. If you have an itch on your nose, stop talking while you scratch it, and then continue talking after you move your hand away. Speak slowly and clearly. Sometimes people think you need to speak loudly. Many times this is not the case. That is what the hearing aids or the FM systems are for. Just speak clearly. Use visual aids to help clarify understanding. This is a great resource for many students. Not all students can learn with auditory-only stimulus and need to have a visual reminder of what you are saying. Students with a hearing impairment are great at head nods. Don't just ask simple yes/no questions to check for understanding. Actually ask questions that require an answer. Again, students with a hearing impairment will think that they heard everything even when they didn't. Be sure to allow time for questions and don't get upset if they ask for clarification for something. This will only cause the student to not ask in the future. If you look at the IEP for students I serve with hearing impairment, I do not list where to sit them in the classroom. It is not the same for all students, for all classrooms, and it could change depending on the lesson or where you are teaching from. Be sure to be flexible. Technology does not solve hearing loss. The students with a hearing impairment hear with technology that uses a microphone. The microphone only picks up within their listening bubble. The FM improves this for teacher speaking, but not for student speaking. Teachers need to be sure to repeat what students are saying in the classroom. Remember, language skills are caught and not taught, so always repeat what is being said in the classroom. Technology comes in many forms. There is classroom technology, which could be a microphone and a tower. There's personal technology like a hearing aid, transmitter, receiver, audio shoe, headphones. The IEP is written for the individual student. It is the law and must be followed in all educational settings. This includes specials. Most of the time it excludes lunch and recess, though for some it can include it. There are many ways you can help your student with hearing impairment. First, the law says that the equipment will be checked, so we need to ensure that the equipment is functioning or contact myself to get it functioning as soon as possible. There is a hearing aid logbook for each and every student with hearing impairment. The logbook shows whether the hearing aid is functioning each day and whether the FM system is functioning each day. This does need to be checked every day. Notate on there if there's battery changes or if I came in to change a tubing on the hearing aid or any of those things. If you've contacted me, you can note that on the log. Then I can write in the log when I get back to fix the problem, that the problem has been fixed. This ensures that we have documented everything that we do with our students. Be sure that you're using the equipment. Don't just check mark it for the beginning of the day that it's working. It's in the IEP or 504 plan for a reason. If you have a pass microphone in your room, be sure to use that pass microphone. If you do not, be sure to repeat student responses so that your student with hearing impairment can be fully engaged in the classroom setting. Remember that your student might have listening fatigue, especially towards the end of the day. Set high expectations for these students. They should be, once they have access to the curriculum, just as high of achievers as anyone else. Make sure to leave notes for substitutes so that they understand that you have a child in your class with a hearing impairment. Listening through a microphone and a speaker system can be difficult. There is etiquette that needs to be followed when you are working with a student who is deaf or hard of hearing. You should always be sure the FM system is on. It is there on the IEP for a reason. FM systems have adjustable straps to ensure you have the microphone within 6 inches of your mouth. They have the adjustable straps so that they're easy to get on and off of your head, but that means you have to adjust the strap and adjust the microphone up when you start using the microphone so that it's always 6 inches away from your mouth. This easily can be checked by making a Y with your thumb and your pinky. Put your thumb to your mouth, your pinky to the microphone. This is the distance it should be. Adjust the FM only as needed, typically done by the audiologist myself. The settings are set at the start of the year. Use the FM system when needed, meaning repeat what the classmates say in class to ensure the student has heard everything being said and stays engaged. Be sure to mute the microphone when you are leaving the room or speaking privately with another student. There are some don'ts as well. Don't forget to unmute the microphone when you're giving instruction. Don't have the microphone more than 6 inches from your mouth. The loudness of your voice does not make it need to be further away from your mouth. The microphone will pick up your voice the best at 6 inches away. Don't fidget with your microphone. The microphone might pick up your hair brushing against it or your badge. Adjust your personal items as needed. Don't assume that you talk loud enough to not use the microphone. It's not about the loudness of your voice. It is about the clarity of the microphone speaker system. Do not leave the FM on during private conversations. It happens every single year. Thank you for educating a student with a hearing impairment. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to send me an email or give me a call. I will do my best to get back with you as soon as I can. Thank you and have a great year.